Welcome back, everyone, to another Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are diving into some truly groundbreaking veterinary research. If you're focused on clinical diagnostics, animal health, or, just fascinated by how we use data to solve medical mysteries, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're unpacking a brand new study published in Veterinary Research Communications that completely shifts how we evaluate one of the most notorious viral infections in dogs, Canine Parvovirus. It's a life-or-death clinical mystery that veterinary professionals face all too often. A critically ill puppy comes into the clinic. They're crashing, and the care team needs to know immediately, what are the real chances of survival here? Up until now, accurately predicting mortality early on, well, it's been incredibly difficult. But what if the secret to predicting whether a dog will actually survive was literally hiding in plain sight, right inside the numbers of a standard everyday blood test? Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The parvovirus danger. 2. Rethinking blood tests. 3. Diagnosing sepsis accurately. 4. Predicting parvovirus survival. And 5. A new standard of care. Section 1. The parvovirus danger, sepsis, and systemic shutdown. To understand the cure, we really have to respect the disease. Canine parvovirosis isn't just some severe gastrointestinal bug. It's actually a well-established, naturally occurring model for severe sepsis. When the virus takes over, it induces a state of extreme systemic inflammation. The virus essentially attacks rapidly dividing cells, and that leads to severe bone marrow suppression. This means the body's factory for producing white blood cells just shuts down, leading to dangerous drops in immune defense, endotoxemia, and ultimately a systemic shock that is incredibly difficult to manage. Moving on to Section 2, rethinking blood tests, the old guard versus the new clues. Because this disease moves so unbelievably fast, early prediction of survival is crucial for triage. But historically, the tools vets have relied on are surprisingly adequate. For years, the quote-unquote old guard of diagnostics leaned heavily on isolated white blood cell counts and acute phase proteins like CRP and albumin. But this new study, it proposes a completely holistic approach. Novel CBC-derived indices. Instead of just looking at white blood cells, the researchers started looking at red blood cells and platelets. Specifically, they normalized those numbers against the lymphocyte counts. It's an entirely different way of running the math on a standard blood draw. So why make this shift? Well, because the traditional markers often act as diagnostic dead ends. Ratios like the neutrophil to lymphocyte ratio, they fluctuate wildly depending on what stage of the disease you happen to catch. Serum CRP drops steadily as treatment progresses, whether the dog is ultimately going to live or die. And the widely used CRP to albumin ratio, the study found it has a remarkably poor prognostic value, with an area under the curve of just around 0.550. I mean, that is basically a coin flip. These old tests completely fail to capture the full picture of the stress happening deep inside the bone marrow. Section 3. Diagnosing sepsis accurately. A complete picture. The foundational logic here is brilliant in its simplicity. Extreme systemic inflammation and sepsis don't just magically target white blood cells, they disrupt the entire bone marrow factory. That means leukopoiesis, erythropoiesis, and thrombopoiesis are all thrown into total chaos. By recognizing this, the researchers realized that red blood cells and platelets, the cells responsible for oxygen transport and clotting, actually hold vital, untapped diagnostic secrets. And the data reveals some truly striking contrasts. If you compare healthy dogs to septic parvovirus dogs at admission, there's a massive spike. When you normalize red blood cell and platelet metrics like mean corpuscular volume or red cell distribution width against those depleted lymphocyte counts, the contrast is absolutely staggering. These new composite ratios don't just hint at sepsis, they scream it, achieving diagnostic accuracies well over 94%. Let's get into Section 4. Predicting parvovirus survival, the critical cutoffs. Diagnosing the disease is only half the battle, right? Now we shift to predicting the ultimate outcome, 0.979. Now, in the world of medical statistics, an area under the curve, or AUC, of 1.0 is absolute perfection, so 0.979 is staggering. This is the prognostic accuracy for the MCV/L ratio. That's the mean corpuscular volume divided by the absolute lymphocyte count. It has near-perfect predictive power for whether a puppy will actually survive the infection. The researchers didn't just find a correlation. They identified exact numerical thresholds. They mapped out the danger zones. If you're a veterinary professional, or really just someone who loves data-driven science,
You need to pay very close attention to these upcoming numbers because they can literally change clinical outcomes. Let's break down these precise cutoff thresholds for mortality prediction. The data is incredibly clear here. If a dog's MCV/L ratio is more than 97.0, the MPV/L ratio is more than 14.2, the RDW/L ratio is more than 24.5, or the PDW/L ratio is more than 62.8, the survival rate decreases significantly. Let me repeat that because it is the absolute core focus of this entire study. If you run the blood work and see the MCV/L ratio above 97.0, MPV/L above 14.2, RDW/L above 24.5, or PDW/L above 62.8, you are dealing with a statistically highly fatal trajectory.
To really unpack this, the crucial point here is the sensitivity of these metrics. We're talking 100% sensitivity for both the MCV/L and the MPV/L thresholds. In the context of this study, that means these ratios did not miss a single fatal case. No way! Every single dog that ultimately did not survive had ratios above those specific danger cutoffs right at admission. This is vastly superior to traditional CRP markers. And conversely, if a dog is responding well to treatment and is going to survive, you literally watch these specific ratios decrease steadily, day by day. It gives clinicians unparalleled triage power.
Bringing us to Section 5, a new standard of care? So what do these life-saving numbers actually mean for the future of everyday veterinary clinics? Well, the immense practical value of this research is that it's completely accessible right now. Clinics don't need to buy expensive new diagnostic machines or wait days for third-party lab results. This uses the exact same data generated by the standard CBC machines sitting in almost every single vet clinic today. It just requires a smarter way of running the math on the blood draw you already took. It's faster, it's incredibly cost-effective, and it provides highly actionable data to make rapid triage decisions. Plus, because Canine Parvovirus is such a fantastic model for sepsis, this research has massive potential translation to human critical care and emergency rooms.
As the researchers powerfully concluded, these simple and cost-effective markers may aid in early risk assessment and mortality prediction, support their integration into clinical practice to enhance the early detection and risk stratification in canine sepsis. They are calling for a direct update to clinical protocols based on this very data. It all comes down to adaptation. The data is out there, and the thresholds are clearly defined. So, the only question left is, how quickly will veterinary clinics worldwide adopt these simple, life-saving math ratios to fundamentally change the way we triage critically ill puppies? It's a profound thought to leave you with today. Knowledge is only as powerful as our willingness to apply it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I'll see you on the next one.